Hi. Today I wanted to share with you the importance of live life that is aligned with the biological reality. There's a lot of like ideological notion of we can do whatever set our minds to. You've heard of those. But these type of things are more so take as an encouragement or motivation than actual reality. And if you take this type of extreme, so to speak. So that particular statement in this truest sense, it's false. But today I wanted to mention about, let's say, biological reality means it's like, let's say, the man and a woman. That's probably easy for the most people to understand. Man has naturally a stronger musculature, bone density, and a faster speed, and so forth. Exception cannot disprove the general statement of this. So competing those in an equal footing is not smart. And that's just a danger to women. And it's just undermining the whole process of fairness. So a lot of things are biologically determined. And I don't think anybody who are sane or have a rational thought would complain that a limitation. I mean, it's like a complaint to the universe, like why you're here, why you're not a giraffe, why you're not a cat. It doesn't make any sense. You're born within some sort of the confined. Now, I want you to think of how you're going to maximize your limitation. And if you actually constrain your life based on that, what's given, your life will expand actually a lot faster and a lot better because you can actually change your strategy in life aligned with your reality. So people who you try to ignore that and everybody's equal, everybody should get like a certain the competitive advantage. They're not really thinking of individual differences. And that type of strategy just would not work because everybody's situation in a granular level is vastly different. So you really need to figure out what is your the strength. Some people are born, so let's say like a talent. I mean, people have a different talent. And there's something that individually it differs quite widely. Like people can do something a lot better than the other in a certain stuff. But in a bigger sense, a man and a woman, this is very important when you strategize your life, is like a biological reality of childbearing. So for a man, you can actually push further down of the childbearing, and you can still can produce a child. But then for a woman, if you get to a certain age, it stops. Just no longer viable. And then later it's more and more difficult. And you really have to think if really just focusing on the career, it would actually worth it. And then my experience and what I see is the trap that I'm not saying that you cannot do both. So the strategy of men and women should differ here because there's a biological reality, the difference that I told you about. Then if you do the same thing, then you're not really thinking hard enough. So the men can actually focus on a career 100% and then wait till you accomplish you whatever. That's a viable strategy. And then possibly that's pretty smart if you do that. Not necessarily, generally speaking, if you kind of figure out what to do, your calling and whatever, it's okay. And if you find the right woman, you could marry young. But then you really have to make sure that then your life is where your life is going. Otherwise, just forget about if you cannot provide, if you cannot protect, you should not really think about. I don't think I get a lot of young kids, young people thinking about having a family, so to speak, but more like just go along with the impulse, more like a pleasure seeking and so forth, and then just happen to be that way. So for men, it's really important to just career focus. But for a woman, it start differing, right? Biologically, it's more serious issue to really think of a marriage and having children in the early days. Career can wait for a woman a lot of times. I mean, believe it or not. Childbearing has a limitation, but the career, if you really want to do it, you can do it later. So the priority have to be like finding somebody that you can rely on, like really a man with integrity, intelligence, have a good energy, as Warren Buffett said. that type of man, if you can find it as early as possible and lock him in, it, so to speak, means it's like be a good support to that type of people or men and get married, and a marriage life is going to be the best long-term strategy for, I would say, most women. Fantasy is dangerous. It's fun. I mean, fantasy is fun to think about. Like, let's say if you want to fly away from a building or mountain or whatever. That's a nice fantasy to have, but then if you jump on from a building, you just fall and die. So fantasy is dangerous if you try to put that into reality. But this type of things, many people want to cling to the fantasy because that the consequence will not be really felt acutely. It's very, very long time, but the time will pass. And I don't want you to miss that. And there is so many subtlety between men and women, right? Like, so as far as like men should really focus on the career just because the biologically you're built to provide and protect. So if you could compromise that mindset of work for anyone, like even your girlfriend or even your wife or anybody, you are actually compromising the very essence of your purpose in life. So for the man's strategy, as a man, that should be the primary objective. Then there everything else will come. But then the women would be different because of the masculine and the more like a biological reality. It is to be more supportive role within the family, and then it works better because psychologically the women are wired towards seeking some men that is higher in hierarchy in a social position or like resourcefulness. It's very normal and actually smart because women has a limited time for the childbearing, so you need somebody who are already ready and they can protect while she's carrying and raising children. So this type of things I really want you to really consider carefully as you move through your life, especially young people. And if you go along this way, do not fear. Like a lot of people think, might give you like, oh, you're gonna miss out a lot of like X, Y, and Z. But those are more. You could do it. Like you could have a lot of fun. It's just you got to be smart at it. If you're not smart, if you just impulsively like get married or have kids or things of that nature, then of course you're gonna take consequences. But then if you are smart enough and find the right person, you could do it. Like there are just people, your grandparents, or your parents can help you out as well. While you might want to actually explore when you're young a little bit. So it's really all about, and then don't postpone to align with reality just because of your fear. Fear that, okay, if I do this, it's going to be more responsibility, not like this. Because if this is the biological reality, then once you accept that and then go for it, everything will click, and actually it makes things a lot better. Generally speaking, like most of the people like successful, the billionaires and all that has all families, and it's not like if you work hard you can have a family. That's not how the world works. This is a very dangerous concept. So you can do both, and actually it'll complement each other. It's like you work hard and then there's a place to rest, if you put it that way. Right? If you're a man, come back to the nice place and then you can recharge, and then you go and you take care of your family. As a woman, you can thrive by having a protection, having a guide, the good boundary that you can do a lot of things. And I'm not talking about just domestic things. If you have a boundary, if you have a protection, you can go out the world and you can do actually compete with the backing of, for instance, like your husband or some men. So there is always exists, really there's a people that thrive by yourself, but those are, I would say, quite rare, and I'm not really sure what they say. I'm satisfied, I'm great, is actually that great. I can't really get into their mind, so I can't really say one way or the other. But I would say it'll definitely worth it, not misaligned with your biological reality, and that will make your life a lot better.